What's happening, guys? Sam Adams here, and welcome to a brand new episode of Caffeinate today for April the 2nd of 2019. My name is Samuel Adams, and welcome to today's show. Of course, as always, I hope this one does find you well, and for those that are brand new to the program, this is a daily gaming news podcast in which I give you a rundown of the biggest news stories of the day, of course, live on twitch.tv/TheSamuelAdams 5 days a week, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, of course, the show is also up on youtube.com/SamuelAdamsMedia, as well as podcast services around the world if you did want to take a look at that, and subscribe if you do enjoy what you see. But what are we going to be talking about today? Well, of course, yesterday was April Fool's Day, which is, without a doubt, the most difficult day of the year to figure out what news is real and what news is, of course, illegitimate. Some may call it fake news. It's a problem. But today we are talking about Borderlands 3 and the fact that the release date was leaked due to a tweet that was sent out a little bit prematurely. Of course, more news is going to be coming on April the 3rd, but we now know when the release date is going to be, on top of the fact that it's also going to be an Epic Games Store exclusive, at least for a short period of time, according to Randy Pitchford. A couple of tiers of news with that one, which we will dive into and break it all down. Of course, there is a brand new PlayStation Store refund policy that allows for refunds within 14 days, but it's not quite like Steam's refund policy, so we'll talk more about what that means for you if you do want to get some refunds on your PlayStation Store purchases. The voice of NBA Jam is a Rage 2 pre-order bonus, a little bit of a gimmicky kind of article there, but hey, we still need to talk about it because the NBA Jam announcer is pretty cool. He's literally on fire. Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is going free to play, at least when it comes to Blackout, and there is a brand new map coming to the game as well. And Rainbow Six Siege has a limited time event going on right now that was an April Fool's joke, but it's also legitimately happening. So is it actually a joke, or is it just a funny small little side thing? Either way, we'll talk about it, and I'll let you guys know when that is going down. Hint, it's going down right now. But that's pretty much the lineup for the day. Of course, there is always tons of news rolling down the pipe, and we'll cover it every single weekday. But as for right now, let's go ahead and dive into the biggest news of the day. Borderlands 3 might be an Epic Games Store exclusive. Deleted tweets tease a September release. Nothing is confirmed, but Randy Pitchford's comments strongly hint at a timed exclusive, and that's kind of what drives it home. An errant tweet from the official Borderlands Twitter account may have unintentionally revealed that Borderlands 3 will be out on September the 13th of 2019. The tweet, which appeared to be an ad that fired too early, has since been deleted, but luckily, we've managed to capture an image, and it's also been uploaded to the Internet Archive as well. Gearbox has used the word mayhem to describe Borderlands 3 several times previously, so while the title itself isn't in the tweet, it's pretty clear what the reference is. September 13th is pretty far off from the October 1st release date theory that popped up last week, and which they still think is a good one despite being largely debunked, but it puts the game within the FY 2019 release window that Take-Two Interactive has previously indicated, and it could be a bit of April Fool's misdirection. Of course, for those that don't know, fiscal year 2019 is what that refers to, but dropping an incorrect release date through official channels really isn't funny. It's just an awful marketing move, of which there have been many over the course of the roughly week that we have known this game to be in existence. Courtesy of Twitter user Wario64, it also appears that Borderlands 3 will be released on the Epic Games Store. A second deleted ad post includes a few seconds of footage and an Epic Store logo at the end. That doesn't necessarily mean it will be an Epic exclusive, but there is no overlooking that the video below contains an Epic Store logo, but not Steam's, and that's pretty much what drives it home. And an update has occurred. Gearbox boss Randy Pitchford's response to the leak gives us another reason to believe that Borderlands 3 could launch as an Epic Games Store exclusive. In a series of tweets, he states that publisher 2K Games and its parent Take-Two Interactive are responsible for all decisions regarding price points, territories, distribution, and platform partnerships. Direct your complaints to them, in other words. Pitchford then says that he thinks exclusives are fine when they come with advantages and when they are short, say, 6 months, which is hard not to take as a hint. Still, we have no official confirmation one way or the other, but I would say that's a pretty safe bet to kind of give you a little bit of an illusion as to what's going to be happening whenever Borderlands 3 does release. A 2K Games rep declined to comment on the leaks in an email, writing, "We have nothing to announce at this time, but we'll have more to share about Borderlands 3 on April the 3rd. Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford said last week that that is when the launch date will be locked in and revealed. And so there's a lot to break down here. Of course, we can all go ahead and say, hey, this is all legitimate. this is happening. Whenever you have the official account tweeting this kind of information, that's when it's happening. So Borderlands 3 coming out on September the 13th of 2019. On top of that, an Epic Game Store exclusive. And if you read into Randy Pitchford's comments, it does look like it's going to be a 6-month exclusive to the Epic Game Store. Now, other sources have been reporting on the fact that Randy Pitchford has had his outs with Steam and Valve in the past, specifically having a little bit of a beef when it comes to this specific kind of thing. So whenever it comes to it being an Epic Game Store timed exclusive, not shocking in the slightest, but he does go on to reiterate that this is not going to be something that hinders the PC version of the game if it does, in fact, eventually come out on Steam, which it does seem to be. There is always going to be crossplay, stuff like that. Will there be crossplay between the console versions of the game and also the PC version of the game? Again, you can read into all of this information as much as you would like. But what we know is that it looks like September the 13th is the release date for the long-awaited Borderlands 3, and it does look to be an Epic Game Store exclusive. Now, of course, many people hate the Epic Game Store. Many people are, hardcore supporters of Steam, and to some degree, I get that. But whenever this kind of story pops up, I always take a moment to reiterate that the Epic Game Store is free, and Steam is free as well. If you're focused on playing the game, it doesn't really matter where it is, because you can literally download a free launcher, and boom, there it is loaded up on your desktop. Now, I also understand where some people are coming from, where it is a situation in that people like to have their achievements all lined up on the same platform. I've said it before, and I'll say it again, I love my PlayStation trophies. Even when a game looks better on PC, even when my friends are playing on PC, I'll always have a link to those trophies, and so I do get that approach. And then some people just like to have their collection all in one place, all on one launcher. But going forward, PC gaming has shifted drastically to where Steam is without a doubt not the only place that people get their games and not the only place where publishers put their games. So it's one of those situations where you just kind of have to live with it, unfortunately. But again, not that big of a deal for me, bigger deal for other people. However, if it's not a big deal for you, then you can check out Borderlands 3 when it comes out on September the 13th, reportedly via a tweet that was sent a little too early. But let's move on to this refund policy. Let's say you don't want to get Borderlands 3, but you do buy it anyway, but you don't play it and you want your money back on PS4, you can now do that if that's something you want to do. But Sony has updated its refund policy for content purchased on the PlayStation Store. Digital content bought on the PlayStation Store now comes with a 14-day refund policy that, under certain conditions, allows players to get their money back. In all cases, the refund is added to the PlayStation wallet balance regardless of the payment method used, so you can't buy a game and then get $60 back on your credit card. Full games and add-ons DLC can be refunded within 14 days of purchase, but only if you didn't start the download, install, or stream process. If the content is faulty, you may be granted a refund after downloading or installing it. So if a game is completely broken upon release, you can get money back, but if you just buy the game and you want to do it like people do with Steam and play for 2 hours or 2 weeks and then just get your money back, that's not how that works. So to make it very clear, this is not the same as Steam's new refund policy, which was introduced either in 2018 or 2017. This is something entirely different. If you start playing the game or if you start the install, you cannot get your money back. So I want to make that very clear. Now, the same goes for pre-ordered games and content. Players who pre-order games can request a refund anytime before the official release date and for up to 14 days following the release date, assuming, of course, the content wasn't downloaded nor installed. Subscription services like PlayStation Plus, PlayStation Now, and Spotify Premium can be canceled within the 14-day trial period. After that, Sony will deduct a certain amount of the subscription fee based on how much the service was used. PSN name changes are not refundable. Unfortunately, the refund process is not automated like it is on Steam, Xbox Live, and other services. Instead, you will need to contact support as you normally would to request a refund. The new refund policy can be seen on the North American support site and the UK site as well for those in other regions if you did want to check it out. Now, Music Man in the chat says the return policy is appreciated by PS4 users, but it's still pretty weak overall. And I agree with that. However, there is a line that has to be drawn at some point because Steam's is generous, but some may say it's a little bit too generous. Now, of course, for those that don't know, Steam essentially allows you to have a 2-hour window in which, regardless of how much you actually play of the game within that 2-hour window, you can refund it regardless of the reason, and I've done that before as well. There are big AAA games that have come out that just don't vibe with me. They just don't really scratch my itch, and so I will refund them because I know that I'm not going to play it, and I would rather have my ranging between $10 and $60 back rather than have that game in my library. And so that's a fantastic way to essentially try out games and see if you do like them, but again, it's very generous, essentially turning every single game into somewhat of a demo. I understand why they wouldn't want to do that, because then people would just play for 2 weeks on the PlayStation 4 and then come back and say, hey, I would like my money back. It's kind of like if you had Spider-Man, for instance, and this was a pretty open refund policy, and you played through the entire game, and then you came back and said, hey, this was bad. It's kind of like eating an entire plate of food at a restaurant and leaving like 2 peas and some gravy, and it's like, this was disgusting. I'm sickened. That's not how that works. You still ate it. So I totally understand where they're coming from with this, but still, it is a welcome change. And of course, refund policies of any kind are pretty solid. Again, though, who buys a game and then refunds it immediately without playing it? I suppose this would be good for those that make accidental purchases, maybe unintentionally clicked a button or unintentionally got some DLC when they were just browsing, something along those lines. That protects those people, and so those people have a right to be protected. When it comes down to it, this is active right now, so if you do have a game that you haven't played, that you bought in the past 2 weeks, that you do want a refund, you can now do that. And of course, as I said, welcome change. Not on Steam's level, but welcome change. Now, if you do want to pre-order Rage 2, one of the most non-existent games of 2019 whenever it comes to AAA releases, I have heard nothing about Rage 2, then you can get the voice of NBA Jam for free. Again, you are buying the game, but you are getting an NBA Jam voiceover. He's on fire, literally this time. If you played NBA Jam back in the early 1990s, as I did, the author says, you will instantly recognize the voice of Tim Kitzrow. Kitzrow's bellowed basketball commentary became synonymous with NBA Jam. His "He's on fire" and shakalaka laka. Shakalaka. Just shakalaka laka? Shukalaka laka. Lines iconic for a generation of video game players. I apologize for that. And here is how it looked. Of course, you can check out NBA Jam and whatnot, but essentially a lot of big NBA Jam stuff going on. Fantastic little thing. It doesn't really play that well. But now, 25 years after NBA Jam came out, Kitzrow has reprised his role, except he's doing it in a very different game, Rage 2. Bethesda announced Rage 2 as a pre-order bonus called the He's on Fire cheat code. This adds Kitzrow's legendary lines from back in the day to the open-world post-apocalyptic shooter, as well as some Rage 2 themed one, and here is how it looks and it sounds, and I'll try and get this playing for you guys. There's a whole trailer if you do want to check it out.
Rejected! 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 He's heating up! Burn! He's on fire!
Nice. Fantastic stuff. So if you did want to pre-order Rage 2, that just adds to the value of the game overall. Of course, hilarious stuff, and I think it's a fantastic marketing move when it comes down to it, because a lot of people that are playing games now started off playing these games back in the 1990s, and so to go ahead and play on that nostalgia, as Music Man says in the chat, to jump aboard the nostalgia train is something that gets people to pre-order when it comes down to it, if you're taking a marketing perspective from this, but also that it's just good fun. It's kind of like how Duke Nukem was in Bulletstorm last year. That's just cool. You know, when it really is broken down, that's just cool. And so if you are a fan of NBA Jam, if you're a fan of Rage 2, then you should pre-order and get that voiceover pack, because, hey, you might as well, and it's pretty awesome. But if you don't want to play those games, and you do want to play Black Ops 4 for some reason, because that game has faded off rather quickly in comparison to previous Call of Duty games, then you can jump in to a brand new Blackout map, and on top of that, a free month of Blackout for those that don't even have the game. Starting tomorrow, April the 2nd, PlayStation 4 players will have access to a whole new map in Call of Duty Black Ops 4's Battle Royale mode, Blackout. It will be a free download for everyone, and if you're curious, the entire Blackout mode will be free for everyone to try out from April the 2nd until the 30th. The map is only coming out tomorrow on PS4, with Xbox One and PC having to sit this out for now, although it should be coming out on other platforms soon, and if I remember correctly, that limited time experience has been cut down from a month in previous Call of Duty games to, I believe it's either a week or 2 weeks. So keep an eye out. I will let you guys know when that is coming, but it should be relatively soon. I think it's a week, but I could be off on that. Though, players on all systems will have access to the free month of Blackout, and according to Dan Tack's review over there at Game Informer, it is worth your time. According to Sam Adams' review, it's alright. You know, it's fine. But of course, the new Blackout map is Alcatraz, so if you are a fan of that style of gameplay, that style of map, and that kind of vibe, I definitely recommend you check this one out. Of course, in my mind, Alcatraz a bit smaller than the original Blackout map, just because, you know, Alcatraz, small prison island over there off the coast of California, I believe. But when it comes down to it, yes, California? Yeah, we're good. My American history is coming in hot. Nice. So if you did want to check it out, then of course you can check out Blackout for free. Of course, Call of Duty's take on Battle Royale did not exactly become the worldwide sensation that I think that many of us thought that it would. Of course, it was a big gamble to begin with, and the game isn't bad overall, even when it comes to the traditional multiplayer and the zombies. Black Ops 4 is a fine game overall, but it's not much more than fine in my opinion. Right now, I definitely wouldn't pay $60 for it, but if you do find it on sale, if you did want to dive in and check out Blackout for free between the 2nd and the 30th, you might as well, because that's free, and you can kind of get a feel for the gunplay, you can get a feel for the Blackout and the Battle Royale mode overall, but if you didn't, that's okay too. There are plenty of other games out there to play. However, it's not bad. It's a pretty solid game, and again, this is not, in fact, an April Fool's joke. Now, this was an April Fool's joke, but it's actually real. Rainbow Six Siege event transforms plane into a rainbow magic land. What a headline that one is. Is it an April Fool's if you can play it, say the team at IGN? Ubisoft has given Rainbow Six Siege a colorful makeover, transforming the classic plane map into a Toy Story-style world with neon bright characters and a child-friendly wallpaper. The Rainbow is Magic mode runs for 7 days and introduces a new version of the hostage game type with a completely reskinned plane map. The toy theme of the map sees everything shrunk down to action figure size, with the airport environment typically surrounding the plane replaced by a child's bedroom complete with toy cars. Inside the plane, walls look closer to Lego blocks than metal bulkheads, and breakable surfaces are adorned with cute wallpaper designs. The hostage is dressed in a teddy bear costume, while the rainbow operators themselves now look like toy soldiers. Only a handful of operators have skins for the Rainbow's Magic event, so your selection pool is very limited at the start of each round. There are challenges to complete as part of the event, which will allow you to unlock new Rainbow Alpha packs, and these contain items from the Magic Collection, which are presumably all rather sparkly, as you would expect. Now, Rainbow Magic is not the only mad limited time event that Ubisoft has put together on April Fools. For Honor replaced its enemies with RABBIDS for the next 24 hours. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but it's something that needs to be talked about. It is hilarious because, again, as the headline did say, For Honor replaced the warriors within the game with RABBIDS for 24 hours. Now, that should have switched back over at midnight, but we have plenty of footage. The hyperactive bucktooth creatures are pretty much Ubisoft's mascot, and they will be acting as enemies and storming the gates in For Honor until 9 p.m. Pacific time, of course, for April Fools. While the event is clearly themed around April Fools, it is completely playable and not a joke in any other form, other than the fact that it's absolutely bananas. There are plenty of fake April Fools jokes out there today, but of course that one was real, and it was absolutely... I actually tweeted on Twitter, RABBIDS For Honor. I want to show you guys gameplay of this. I actually tweeted and I said, I actually want to see what this looks like. Lo and behold, it actually happened. They legitimately did that. So there's a screenshot of it. Of course, there was a small new image up on Twitter, but essentially, you get the gist of it right here. A whole bunch of RABBIDS in For Honor. And I want to make it very clear that April Fools, whenever I was growing up, was fun. It was fun to poke fun at other people and to make jokes and make little puns and do all that April Fool's stuff and be like, just gotcha, you know. But when it comes to the gaming industry, when it comes to people that are creative, they take it to the next level. It's just it just hits different. You know what I'm saying? It is fantastic to see stuff like this, where some of our favorite games, I mean, many people still play For Honor. I'm backing that one up. Some of our favorite games are filled with this style of content. To see stuff like the Rainbow Six Siege event, where you do have this giant magic toy land, that's fun stuff. It's good stuff, and I love seeing that kind of thing. Of course, April Fools can definitely get a lot of people riled up whenever something like, you know, a game being announced is entirely false. But with that being said, I'll take that in exchange for having a good time every year on April the 1st. But that rounds out today's episode of Caffeinate. Of course, if you did enjoy this one, be sure to drop me a like down below. And as Gammo says in the chat, my Twitter feed was full of Twitch folks saying they were going to Mixer. Ouch. Ouch. Rough. But of course, if you are brand new to the show, then it's hosted 5 days a week, Monday through Friday on twitch.tv/TheSamuelAdams at 7 a.m. Eastern Time if you did want to catch up on the hottest gaming news of the show every single day. I said that incorrectly, but you got the meaning. You got the vibe. So I'll be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of Caffeinate. Of course, you guys have a fantastic rest of the day. I appreciate you all hanging out in the chat, and peace.